Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's installment of Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. This is our weekly show that shines a spotlight on the teams, athletes, coaches, and stories making news in Arizona State's Sun Devil athletics. Hi, everybody. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil football, men's basketball, and baseball. Delighted to serve as your host each week. And looky here, I got a co-host this week. Once again joining us, Arizona State Deputy Athletics Director Gene Boyd. Good to see you, partner.
Always good to be here with you.
Boy, it's a much easier show to do when you got someone to talk to, and it's great to have Gene here with us. And we got a lot to discuss in this segment as we recap the week in Sun Devil athletics. And on this show, we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into Sun Devil football, as football's in the off-season, but gearing up for the start of spring practice about a month from now. And a pair of ASU football players, one returnee and one newcomer, will join us later on the show. Wide receiver and kick returner Melquan Stovall will drop by for a visit. So too will Sun Devil newcomer Javan Robinson, a defensive back transfer from Washington State. We will visit with both those fellas shortly. But first, a quick recap of the week in Sun Devil athletics. A tough weekend it was on the hardwood for both ASU basketball teams. The Sun Devil men were swept at home by Stanford and Cal this past weekend and have now suffered 4 consecutive losses, while the ASU women fell 63-52 at Arizona on Sunday afternoon to drop to 2-8 in Pac-12 play, although Coach Natasha Adair's Sun Devils have played better basketball of late, with the U of A game being competitive right down to the fourth quarter. The Sun Devil men, however, Gene, seem to me to have lost a little bit of their confidence, a little bit of their mojo. What's your take on them? What's your take on the two basketball programs right now?
I mean, you know, we're living in an era and a time where you have to build cohesion, right? I mean, the roster turnover with the portal and NIL in the background of it, you have to build cohesion, and looked like Coach Healey was getting that done. You know, had some good games in there, and then more recently, you know, you get into the second half of the season, and you know those things rear their head again. I mean, if you look at the team, you would say there's some talent out there for sure.
Oh yeah.
I think Coach Healey admittedly says that, you know, he doesn't have probably some of the outside shooting prowess that you'd really like to, but it comes down to defense, I think, for the squad. And when they're cohesive that way and playing extremely hard, they can play with anyone. But I think more recently, the energy hasn't been what we've seen at the times when they've done well.
Yeah, and it just seems like this team really has to be connected to play at its best.
Yeah, and when you have people coming from, you know, so many different places, and they've started in one system somewhere, and then they've got their high school background, and even high school now is really transient. You know, some of these players go to a couple different high schools, and then, you know, by the time they've kind of figured it all out, it's toward the end of their career, and so, you know, you have to expedite that, I think, and that's what Coach Healey and his staff are working hard on.
And with Natasha Adair's team, I think we're starting to see baby steps. They're starting to get a little bit better. They had a really nice home win January 28th over Cal, and were competitive in that U of A game. They were blown out by the Wildcats in December, but a much closer game in Tucson.
Yeah, I mean, when you're coming behind someone who built a program for 25 years, and then you have to transition that, it does take some time. But you see flashes of it, right? You know, Natasha has a system and a values system as well, and those things are seeming to firm up and take root. And you know, whenever you go down south, you always want to come back with a victory, but we're competitive. You know, lost the shooting touch there some too.
Yeah.
And, but I think she'll continue to build it, and you know, got a great scorer and a few great players, and we'll continue to add to that.
Boy, I had the chance. I took my 7-year-old granddaughter to her first ASU game. Saw them. We went to see them beat Cal, and I loved watching Jaylen Brown play. When I see her, the word smooth comes to mind. She is just almost effortless out there.
No question. Some of those things are things you can't coach. You know, it's just raw talent. The ability to score from different levels makes a dynamic player, and you know, there's foundation there, right? With her and pieces that you add moving forward, there'll be a foundation for success. But in the now, you want to continue to elevate on the curve, of high performance, and that's what Coach Adair is seeking to do.
The Sun Devil men head out onto one of the Pac-12's most challenging road trips this week, up to the mountains to take on Colorado and Utah this Thursday and Saturday. Both games, by the way, will tip at 6 p.m. Arizona time, and our radio coverage both evenings will begin at 5:30. And you can catch Kyle Dodd and me with the broadcast, and we'll have them for you on the Sun Devil Radio Network and ESPN 620 AM, with the broadcast also streaming on ArizonaSports.com and the AZ Sports app. Now, the Sun Devil women also hit the road. They're off to Los Angeles to face two nationally ranked opponents. The 10th-ranked USC Trojans Friday, February 9th at 8 p.m., and then number 9 UCLA on Sunday at 1 p.m., and our buddy Jeff Munn will be along with them and bring you all the radio coverage of both Sun Devil women's games on KDUS 1060 AM and the Sun Devil Radio Network. His airtime will be 7:30 on Friday and 12:30 on Sunday afternoon. Let's talk a little puck for a moment, if we shall. The 17th-ranked Sun Devil hockey team posted a win and a tie this past weekend against Lindenwood University of Missouri. The two games played at Mullet Arena. Matthew Copperwood with 2 goals in Friday's 4-4 tie. The Sun Devils actually won the shootout, but in college hockey, it goes in the books as a draw. And then Jackson Niedermeyer scored 2 goals Saturday, in ASU's 5-1 victory. And Gene, great success and a hockey program that once again played in front of 2 near sellout crowds at Mullet Arena.
I mean, wow, the environment there is something to behold. If you haven't gotten out to that, by all means, you should make it a point to do so. Coach Powers has a very high standard, high expectations. Obviously, with Mullet being, kind of fully engaged and fully open now, you'd expect him to continue to climb, heading into a new conference next year. A lot of change in Sun Devil athletics, right?
For sure.
Just like the overall program heading into the Big 12, the hockey program is heading into a conference for the first time in their existence. And, the fight is now to try to reach the postseason and then fortify the program for long-term success in the conference.
Now this week, Gene said, get out and watch the hockey team. You'll have a chance this weekend. They'll be back on home ice Friday and Saturday hosting Alaska Fairbanks. The puck drops at 7 p.m. Friday evening, 5 p.m. on Saturday. If you can't make it out, you can catch all the action with Tyler Paley and Alex Coyle on the Sun Devil Radio Network and Fox Sports 910 a.m., and their coverage will start 30 minutes before game time. 12th-ranked Sun Devil Wrestling this past week faced a future conference foe and a current and soon-to-be former conference foe. The Sun Devils lost at third-ranked Oklahoma State 28-9 last Friday evening. Of course, Oklahoma State, a future Big 12 rival of Arizona State. Then on Sunday, Coach Zeke Jones' team came back home to Desert Financial Arena and got back in the win column against current Pac-12 rival Oregon State in a thrilling match, 19-17, the match decided by heavyweight Colton Schultz's victory in the final match of the day. And the other big news on the mat this week, Gene, 149-pound star Kyle Parco posting the 100th and 101st match victories of his great Sun Devil career.
Unbelievable. I mean, if you think about the history and tradition of wrestling here, to accomplish that speaks volumes of the talent, right? We're in an Olympic year, and so there's a bigger picture too. I mean, obviously, dual meets are important, and you get to practice your craft, but you're all aiming for the postseason, the national championship, and in this year, an Olympic opportunity for maybe several of the guys. And Zeke with his incredible Olympic coaching background, obviously well suited to prepare them for that.
Wrestling will hit the road again this week. They will take on Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo this coming Friday, February 9th. The 5th largest home crowd in Sun Devil women's gymnastics history. Over 3,400 came to Desert Financial Arena last Friday and saw the 23rd-ranked Sun Devils post a season-high score of over 197 on Friday night as the Sun Devils placed third in a tri-meet against the top 2 ranked programs in the country, number 1 Oklahoma, number 2 California. ASU was led by Anaya Smith, who tied for first on the vault with a score of 9.950. In fact, one of the judges on Friday gave Anaya a perfect 10 on her vault in that meet. And Gene, you touched on it a moment ago referencing wrestling. I think it's almost even more true, or as true, in college gymnastics. Even Coach Jay Santos himself said after Friday's meet, his quote was, quote, "Winning is great, but for the purpose of rankings, the team score is what matters," and his team scores are progressively going up meet by meet.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. You're going against the number 1 and number 2 team in the country, and so winning would be advantageous to say the least. But the competition, right? I mean, the caliber of competition, again, in an Olympic year. I mean, this is where you kind of start to talk about the breadth of Sun Devil Athletics and all the sports offerings and being high performers in those. And again, as we think about wrapping up the Pac-12 and going into the Big 12, being really well suited to be a high performer, comprehensively as we move.
No question. Now, gymnastics, they will too also be on the road this weekend. They head to Stanford, take on the Stanford Cardinal on Friday evening up in Palo Alto. A couple of Sun Devil sports programs had successful weekends last week. The 14th ranked ASU women's water polo team won 3 of its 4 matches at the Triton Invitational hosted by the University of California, San Diego in La Jolla, California over the weekend. All 4 of the Sun Devils matches came against ranked opponents, and ASU defeated 3 of them. The number 9 host UCSD program. They also beat 16th ranked UC Davis and the 10th ranked Michigan Wolverines, with the only loss they suffered last weekend coming against 3rd ranked UCLA. Sun Devils looking good in the pool so far.
They are. I mean, another team coached by a Sun Devil for life, right? And certainly be home this weekend in competition. People could come out and get a chance to see them participate. But, along with what we've stated already about these Olympic programs, right? And all the talk around college athletics and how it's evolving and all, we have to remember that, college athletics is really the Olympic breeding ground for our country. And water polo is another example of a highly regarded and high-performing team that we have.
And Sun Devil for Life Petra Party doing a really nice job coaching the water polo team. Meanwhile, Sun Devil track and field last weekend had 4 individual event winners and 11 total medalists as they competed at the Charlie Thomas Invitational hosted by Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. The Sun Devil winners last week, 2 men, 2 women. Brandon Lloyd won the men's shot put, Justin Robinson the men's 400 meters, Adriana Tatum took the women's 200 meters, and congratulations to freshman Alex Johnson, who won the women's triple jump for her first career victory. Coach Dion Miller again has some big-time talent.
Absolutely. I mean, it starts with recruiting, right? Developing relationships, convincing young talent and their family members that not only will Arizona State be a great place for them to get their education, but that the coaching that they will receive will be top-notch, and that's proven to be the case year in and year out in track and field.
We've mentioned a lot of Sun Devil athletics teams that are hitting the road. Track and field will be one of them next weekend as they head to Fayetteville, Arkansas to compete in the Tyson Invitational. Even with both basketball teams being out of town, gymnastics being out of town, track and field, as we just said, out of town, wrestling the same, this still will be a busy weekend on the ASU campus, with Arizona State hosting several events this weekend. Hockey will have home games Friday and Saturday at Mullet Arena. Water polo, as Gene referenced, will be hosting its own tournament at the Mona Plummer Aquatic Center, with 4 teams playing 10 matches in 3 days. Women's tennis will be at home to host Arkansas this coming Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And then Sun Devil softball opens its 2024 season at Farrington Stadium with the Kajikawa Classic this coming weekend, Thursday through Sunday, and ASU will play 5 games. And Gene, that's a lot of demand on your athletic department staff, but boy, they always do a fantastic job hosting events.
Mike Chismar, J.D. Lauderberger, those are the guys who run operations for all of our different facilities. It's really the nation's capital for hosting things, including postseason, right? We've had the golf championships here for the NCAA the past several years. We're often hosting, and we'll partner, with the NCAA this year on the Final Four for men. Speaks volumes about how this place is regarded, meaning the state, the city, the area, right? Arizona State University, Sun Devil Athletics, and the cadre of individuals behind the scenes that it takes to put that on, who oftentimes are working 7 days a week in stretches. Very dynamic, very powerful.
Great staff here at ASU, including my buddy, Deputy Athletics Director Gene Boyd. Gene, great visiting with you again.
Tim, it's always great to be here with you and to update our people on what's going on.
We appreciate Gene Boyd joining us on this week's edition of Sun Devil Extra. Coming up, we will check in on the Sun Devil football program during its quote-unquote off-season as we visit with two members of the ASU football team, starting with wide receiver and kick returner Melquan Stovall, who will join us next. But first, let's take a timeout. This is Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We continue now with this week's installment of Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play broadcaster for ASU Athletics. Glad you're with us this week. We are about a month away from the start of spring football practice here at Arizona State, at which time second-year ASU head football coach Kenny Dillingham and his staff will be preparing the Sun Devils for their first season as a member of the Big 12 Conference. Two members of the 2024 Sun Devil football squad have been kind enough to join us on the show this week. And up first, you'll meet a man who in his first season at ASU had 18 pass receptions, averaging better than a first down per reception, while also scoring one rushing touchdown and serving as a punt returner in 2023. He began his career at Nevada, where he caught 108 passes in 3 seasons with the Wolfpack. And then after 1 year at Colorado State, came to Arizona State. He is from Lancaster, California, and we are delighted to welcome Melquan Stovall to the show. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Why don't you start by giving us a sense, what's the daily routine like for you and your teammates in the time period from the end of the season in late November till the start of spring practice?
So to begin with, we have our 8 weeks of training and conditioning with Coach Joe and his staff. What we do is, we lift weights every day and we run. Some of those days we're conditioning, so it's definitely a good thing.
So it's not really an off season, is
Not at
it?
all. Not at all. Not at all.
But you're working with one of the best in Coach Joe Connolly, aren't you?
Most definitely. Yeah, he's gonna, expect a lot out of you, and if you're not gonna give it, he's gonna get it out of you somehow.
That's for sure. Now, certainly from a wins-loss perspective, wins and losses, year one of Coach Dillingham's tenure at Arizona State was a rough one with a 3-9 record. But it seems to me that so often in college sports, the first year of a coaching regime is all about establishing a culture, building a foundation for future success. So how would you summarize year one under Coach Dillingham a year ago?
Year one, it was a tough one, but I feel like as we progressed throughout the season, I feel like we got closer as a team, and we kind of established who we wanted to be, for the future, and just working every day at practice, and just competing against each other and trying to get the best out of us. So I feel like we're definitely moving in the right direction.
You said establishing who you want to be. What do you think Coach Dillingham wants this program to be?
Just a team that's relentless, and a team that's eager to win, and just bring the hungriness to practice and in the games day in and day out.
It seems to me one of the best qualities I observed about your team last year was its competitiveness. The fact that there were some games where the scores were lopsided and you were on the business end of a beatdown, and yet in those games I always felt like your team continued to play hard right to the last whistle. Can you talk about that and where that mentality comes from?
Yeah, so there were games where, of course, we lost by a lot, but what you saw out there was a team that, refused to give up, continued to push through, and I feel like, we have more to give, so,
What are some of the things you learned from Coach Dillingham in year one? And in particular, I wanted to get your take as an offensive player about what we observed with the way he was able to creatively come up with offensive schemes to deal with the injuries that your team suffered during the year.
Most definitely. I learned a lot, from Coach Dillingham, throughout the season as we progressed. I thought I knew the game of football until, I met Coach Dillingham, and, he broke down the game for us, in ways I've never, been able to, learn it. So
Yeah.
definitely, you learn a lot from Coach Dillingham.
And now this year you're going to get a chance to learn and work with another coach, as you have a new offensive coordinator, former UNLV head coach and one-time Oregon offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo. Tell us about working with him.
Working with him is going to be amazing. Just watching his offense and things from the past. He does a lot of great things. And, I'm looking forward to, being able to go out every day and, learn from him.
What kind of offense can we expect to see in 2024 and beyond?
The type of offense we can see is a team that's, not afraid to, throw the ball deep. So definitely going to see.
Now, how did you feel about your season a year ago? I'm guessing as you look ahead to 2024, you're hoping to have an even greater role, but you were effective when you did get on the field.
Yes, sir. Just, doing whatever the team needs me to do. I pride myself in, playing special teams. So if that's where I'm at, I would love to, contribute in that aspect. And as far as on the offensive side, just do whatever they need me to do, and just be that guy.
And you do have experience in that realm. As we said, you caught over 100 balls in 3 years at Nevada. Do you think you can maybe increase your role there?
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. I feel like I, can take my role to the next level and, be the guy that, they can depend on. So, just working and, just being the guy to, try to lead, be more of a leader in the room.
Why don't you break down your wide receiver room, a group that is headed by one of the best pass catchers in the Pac-12, Elijah Badger, has been all that in each of the last 2 seasons.
Most definitely. We have a lot of guys in our room that, can really play ball. So, Elijah Badger, he's just an excellent athlete. We have Xavier Guillory. We have a bunch of different guys in our room. So, Troy Mary, and the list goes on.
And one guy in particular, Jake Smith, he didn't get a chance to play last year, but as best I can tell, he'll be able to play this year. And he was a great high school player here in the Valley.
Most definitely. We're excited to, get Jake back this year. We're looking forward to seeing him last year, but, unfortunately things happen. So, he's definitely going to be a guy that, is a key factor in our offense this year.
What do you think makes Elijah Badger such a special talent as a pass catcher?
His just knowledge of the game, his quick twitch, and his athleticism. Like he's, second to none. Like he's amazing at what he does. So.
Now, last year, of course, you guys worked closely with the quarterback position, and toward the end of the season, it was, well, actually for the whole season, it was kind of a revolving door there because of injuries, so much so to the point that late in the year, Coach Dillingham was employing non-quarterbacks, guys like Cameron Scadaboo and former Sun Devil tight end Jalen Conyers to get snaps out of the backfield. What was that experience like for you as receivers?
The experience with that was definitely different, but it was amazing to see how he can come up with, certain things on the fly, so that was a testament to, how knowledgeable he is and, he's going to, put the best athletes in position. So.
But this year, you're looking to a quarterback room that will have a healthy and talented Jaden Rashada, veteran Trenton Bourget, and a talented newcomer in Michigan State transfer, Sam Levitt. Give me your take on the quarterback position heading into this season.
Yes, sir. The quarterback position, is going to be definitely a tough challenge. So, I feel like all of those guys can play ball. So, let the best man win.
Yep. Talk about your college journey, Melquan. I mean, it's been an extensive one. You spent 3 solid years at Nevada. You go to Colorado State for a year. What were some of the factors that led you to move on, enter the portal, and eventually come to Arizona State?
It was definitely, a tough decision for me, to leave my head coach and his staff, Coach Jay Norvell. But the factor that, led me here was, just trying to get in a position to, to be the best version of myself. And as far as, academic wise, I'm working on my first master's degree. So I'll finish with that one this semester, and I'll start my second one in the summer. So
that's fantastic. What are your degrees in, and what are you studying?
So my first one is in organizational leadership, and then I'll get my second master's in cybersecurity.
Wow, that is awesome. And you and your teammates will have the privilege in 2024, I suppose, of being the members of ASU's first ever Big 12 conference team. What are your feelings, and what do you think are the feelings of your teammates about moving to the Big 12 this year?
I feel like everyone's excited. Big 12 is, one of the top conferences, so definitely looking forward to this year's schedule.
Indeed. It's the first year for the Sun Devils in the Big 12. They'll have 4 Big 12 home games, 5 on the road. It's going to be a new journey, but an exciting journey for Melquan Stovall and his Arizona State teammates. Melquan, thanks for joining us, bud. All the best to you this season.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
That's Sun Devil wide receiver Melquan Stovall, our guest here on Sun Devil Extra. Coming up, we will close out this week's show as we visit with one of Melquan's new Sun Devil teammates as Sun Devil transfer defensive back Javan Robinson will join us. This is Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Welcome back to the final segment of this week's installment of Sun Devil Extra from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil football, men's basketball, and baseball, and we're glad that you joined us this week. As we continue our discussion on Sun Devil football here in the so-called off-season, we're joined now by one of the 13 transfers who signed with Arizona State on the early signing period on December 20th. He is a defensive back who played his first 2 seasons of college football in the Pac-12 at Washington State, where last year he recorded 12 tackles, 2 for loss, plus had a pass breakup in his role with the Cougars, and he figures to play a prominent role in the Sun Devils secondary in 2024. He comes from Apopka, Florida, just outside of Orlando, and we are delighted to welcome defensive back Javan Robinson, not only to the show, but welcome him to Arizona State. Good to see you, Javan. How's the adjustment period gone for you moving to the desert?
It's been great. I love it so far. You know, it reminds me of back home, you know, the weather, the people, so I'm loving it so far.
I do have to ask you, we talked about it before we started taping. How does a young man from just outside Orlando, Florida, end up in Pullman, Washington to begin his college career?
That's a question I've been getting for the longest. As I said before, just the relationships I had with those specific coaches that was on the staff at the time, it led me, you know, to go across the country, you know, to Pullman. But I don't regret it because, you know, I had the relationships I built, you know, I can never get those relationships back. So I'm happy that I met the coaches that I met, you know, so that's what led me that far.
Yeah, Pullman is a little bit of an isolated town, but boy, I think it's one of the neater college towns in the Pac-12, and it's a real united community. Cougars stay loyal to their school. What was it like living in Pullman for you?
It was different at first, you know, getting used to, you know, not seeing a lot of stuff, you know, just wheat fields everywhere, you know, the weather. But, you know, the longer you're at a place, you know, the better you adjust. So I adjusted to it pretty well, and from my time being there, I kind of liked it. I liked it, but, you know, I feel like I'm in a better situation now, so, you know, I'm just ready to go forward.
Great. I was going to ask you, what drew you to Arizona State once you entered the portal?
Really the coaches, because, you know, the coaches that's on the staff now were some of the coaches that recruited me out of high school, you know, like Coach Coop and Coach Ward. So, you know, just the relationships I've built with those coaches, you know, it led me here.
Yes, you played 1 year for Brian Ward, the D coordinator, and Coach A.J. Cooper up in Pullman. Your thoughts on Coach Ward? I mean, he did, I thought, a terrific job with the Arizona State defense under trying circumstances a year ago. What makes him such a good defensive coordinator, and what makes his defense so much fun to play?
What makes Coach Ward so special is he trusts his players. I feel like he doesn't run the defense to where, you know, what he thinks. He runs the defense according to his players. So he's a very, you know, player-led person. So, you know, whatever he feels like his players are comfortable doing, he lets them do that, and it works best for the defense.
Give us a scouting report on Javan Robinson. What kind of football player can Sun Devil fans expect to see when you take the field this fall?
I'm a very energetic, extroverted player. You know, I show my emotions a lot. I feel like I'm very physical. You know, I'm pretty fast. Just expect everything out of me this year. You know, expect a true player this year. A true player this year for sure.
What do you sense will be your role on this team?
I feel like my role this year will be, you know, coming in and being a leader, especially for the cornerback group. We have a pretty young cornerback group, and just me coming in and with the experience I have, just, you know, taking a lot of those guys under my wing and, you know, showing them the way and helping them out any way I can.
That's right. You had 2 years experience up at Washington State. Of course, you got a view of Arizona State last year here, and that was one of the Sun Devils' best games of the year when they beat the Cougars the last Saturday in October here in Tempe. What were your impressions of that ASU team at that time, and how has your impressions changed or been verified by what you see from the inside now?
Yeah, at that time, I always knew they were a pretty good team. I just knew, you know, they were, you know, dealt with a lot of, you know, circumstances that, you know, wasn't able to, you know, fulfill, you know, what they needed to do. But back then I knew they were a good team, and I knew we were going to have to come in and play, and they got the job done, and we were on the short end of that of the loss. So but I always knew they were a pretty good team, and they had the players to do it.
What's your take on Coach Dillingham, and what are the things he brings to this program?
Coach Dillingham, what a lot of people don't see is behind the scenes. That's what makes Coach Dillingham a great coach. He's a player's coach. A lot of other institutions, a lot of other universities, a lot of head coaches are not involved with the players a lot. And here I feel like Coach Dillingham is he's in the locker room, he's talking to us every day, he's engaged and involved with the whole team. So it just makes the team more closer and more tight knit. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes him a great coach.
Now, we mentioned that Javan comes from the talent-rich state of Florida, the Orlando area. What is it about your home state and your home area, Javan, that produces so many great football players? We were just talking about some of the players that come from your town,
Mm-hmm.
Apopka. Most notable among them, Warren Sapp,
Mm-hmm.
a longtime great defensive lineman at the University of Miami
Yes.
and in the NFL.
What makes my hometown so great is just where we come from is you have to work hard for everything. So with my hometown, nothing was never given. Everything you had to do was you had to work for it. So it just creates that motor and that hunger inside of you to make you want to be great in life.
And what in particular do you think, why is it that Florida produces so many great football players?
I'm not really sure. I feel like it's just.
It seems like it's almost part of the culture growing up in the state for a lot of kids.
It is. In Florida, it's either, if you're playing sports, it's either football or, you're running track. So I feel like, growing up, it's instilled in you at an early age, that, hey, you're going to play football. So, as a kid, you just take on, that you're going to be great at something and you just work hard at it. So I feel like that's what, makes Florida, stand out, when it comes to football players.
What does it mean to you to be a part of the first Arizona State team to be in the Big 12 Conference as this school makes its move this coming season to the Big 12?
It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me, just knowing that these coaches believed in me, to get me here and, to be a part of the 13 that, signed and be a part of the Big 12 Conference. It means a lot. I'm very thankful for that, and I'm just eager and excited to see how far we can take this thing. We've been working hard, so I feel like it's gonna pay off.
So you've been in the Pac-12 the last 2 years, and ASU's been in the Pac-12 for about 45 years. So this will be a new experience for all of us. I'm wondering, are there any teams or you're particularly excited to go up against, or places you're excited to go to?
I'm excited to play against UCF.
There you go, your hometown.
Yeah, it's my hometown. I know got a lot of friends and family members that play for that team, and just excited to play my hometown, and I'm very excited for that game.
Yeah, I think that UCF game is a home game for the Sun Devils, and it will take place, I believe, in November. But personally, I'm excited. A lot of those places, the Texas schools in the league, Kansas, Kansas State, Iowa State, West Virginia, Cincinnati. It's going to be a new experience, and then along with the Four Corners schools in the Pac-12 and BYU, I think it's going to be a heck of a league, don't you?
I do too. I feel like it's going to be very exciting this year.
Exciting indeed, and we're delighted to have you as part of the Arizona State program, Javan. All the best to you in your Sun Devil career, and thanks for coming on the show with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Sun Devil defensive back Javan Robinson, one of the newcomers on this Arizona State team, and our guest on this segment of Sun Devil Extra. And with that, we bring down the curtain on this week's show, and thank you so much for joining us. Before we take our leave, a couple of thank yous, if we may. Thanks, first of all, to our executive producer, ASU Senior Associate Athletic Director Doug Tamaro. Thanks to our terrific executive producer, engineer, and technical guru, Sean Crespin of the Sun Devil Radio Network. And thanks to our buddy DJ Foster from ASU Football for helping with the arrangements for today's interviews. We'll be back next week with another edition of Sun Devil Extra, and we hope you'll make plans to join us sometime during the week. Till then, I'm Tim Healey. Thanks for joining us. So long, everybody.